Have you ever thought how powerful and significant a jury is? There are very few countries in the world that allow individual citizens to decide on the guilt or innocence of a fellow citizen. The British system of juries was created to enable ordinary people to have more power than the king. And by that I mean the judge appoints the sheriff, the judge is appointed by the king, but the jury is selected from the populace at large. I once had a trial, a rather famous trial, in James Keegstra's case, in about 1985. The jury deliberated for a long period of time. The trial lasted over 4 months. Jim Keegstra was on the stand for 3 weeks testifying about his beliefs in an alleged hate crime. He testified about how he believed in the religious opinions that he held and he expressed as a teacher in his class. He said he believed in the truth of the matters that he expressed about history. But how do you prove the truth in history? It's really impossible unless you happen to have been there, in which case you're probably long gone from this earth. But the jury deliberated for some time and returned a verdict of guilty. And you know what the chairman, or the foreman, I guess you call it, of the jury did? He came out of the jury room after deliberating for some time and agreeing with the guilt of the accused, and he said these words: "I don't believe you did anything wrong, and I want to help you pay your fine." There were tears in his eyes. I couldn't believe it. I was watching the foreman of the jury talk to the accused, near me, something I'd never seen happen before, and he said that. And I thought to myself how completely and absolutely amoral. This was an individual who, a very brief period of time previously, had within his own hands, the power to liberate or to convict. And he chose to convict. And if he honestly didn't believe the accused had done anything wrong, then he should never have convicted. The essence of a crime is the guilty knowledge that accompanies it. No one can be guilty of a crime if their mind is truly innocent, or in the opinion of a jury is innocent. And therefore, I think the jury has the ultimate power in the land to decide on guilt or innocence, which is their right, and to do so based on their understanding of the mind of the accused. They are, after all, the people who are possessed of the reasonable man's mind, if there is such a thing. Not the judge necessarily. It's not his view of the facts that determines guilt or innocence. It's the jury, and with that in mind, it is inherently necessary for everyone to realize that the jury has more power than the judge, and no one, not even the judge, can ever decide what goes on in the jury room. You, if you're on the jury, and you alone, have the power to decide whether the person is guilty or innocent, and to do as you choose and as your conscience will dictate. And I've said to many juries, long years from now, in the middle of the night, will you have doubt in your own mind as to whether you did the right thing in convicting a man who might have been innocent? You'll have far less reason to grieve if you think in your mind that you might have convicted someone who might have acquitted someone who might have been innocent, might have been guilty, rather. That's a bit complicated, but what I mean is there is far less likelihood of damage to society from the acquittal of a guilty person than there is from the conviction of an innocent one, or one who is not as guilty as the Crown alleges. And the jury has the power to make that decision and to make it once and for all. In the Klundert case, a tax evasion case, twice juries have acquitted, twice the Crown has appealed, and twice the judges have said, "Oh no, the verdict's wrong, send it back for another trial." The third trial will take place in 2010. But my friends, the jury is the repository of ultimate justice. And it is there, if you are on a jury, that you have the power to do what is right. And you should never have to doubt in your own mind that you did the right thing. And you won't if you decide that the government isn't always right. And the individual has a right to be judged on the moral and ethical understanding they had at the time. And if they did not have a guilty mind, in your opinion, having viewed all the facts, then you should not convict. People without a guilty mind, without mens rea, should never be convicted of crime. There may be different degrees of proof necessary to establish their innocence, but they should never have to prove their innocence. That should be for the Crown to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And having any reasonable doubt in your mind, you should never, ever convict. That gives the jury the power to cause and maintain liberty in our land. Thank you.